One race down, one still to go here today in the DSBK UAE National Championship. The Superbikes are back on track for their second race of the day in their third meeting of the season, and see if anyone can topple today's runaway and this season's runaway leader in the points and in the championship itself, Saeed Al Salati, in the top modified class in that sense. Hello everybody, Scott Woodward back on commentary to guide you through all of the action for today's second race. We had an entertaining fight at the front of race one earlier on, particularly in the three-way fight for the overall and modified class lead. Victory indeed going to Saeed Al Salati, but not without pressure from both Saskia Totaro and Mohammed bin Ladin, both of which newcomers to the championship for this weekend and certainly making an impression. Bin Ladin, in fact, actually you see on camera here, leading most of the way, but then eventually once Al Salati got in front, essentially it was Al Salati's race to lose. And then it kept a battle between himself and Saskia Totaro at the front of the field. There was also a victory in the super stock class for Firas Abouganim, and then it was also a rookie class win for Tom Robson. So plenty of action still to come in race number two. Just saw a shot there on the screen of Saskia Totaro. Also Florin Berladinu, who is on bike number 55. As we get set for race number two, the question has to be if anyone can possibly stop Saeed Al Salati. Now, of course, Bin Ladin came pretty close in that sense in race one, got a better start than his fellow Yamaha rider, but it was only about 2/3 of the way through when Al Salati was able to find a way through and actually stay there as the riders start to make their way out of the garages and round to the dummy grid. And in the end, Al Salati was able to pull away whilst Totaro and Bin Ladin were battling over that runner-up spot in the podium placings. It was a fairly straightforward race for Firas Abouganem, whereas in the rookie category, initially it was a lead for Marwan Almheri, but he dropped back about the second half of the race. Both himself and Kalfan Al-Kabai running in their very first ever races, and we'll talk about that in a second. It was rightfully pointed out by our Master of Ceremonies on the race one podium. Both are running in their first ever bike races, and being able to get onto the rookie podium in second and third was certainly a fine achievement. But of course, no one could topple Tom Robson, who followed up on his two victories here in November at the first rounds that we had, with victory in race number one here today. This should have been the third set of races that we've had this season. Alas, it's only the second, because the races that we were due to have in February is fortunately due to inclement weather, which is not often something that you say in these parts in Dubai. Unfortunately, it meant that we had to cancel the racing. So this is only the second time in the championship which the riders have been out on track this weekend, this season, after they started in the kind of winter series 23-24 format back in November. Of course, they're running on the full Grand Prix circuit this weekend, and that means that they get to really experience every single inch of this fantastic facility, the Dubai Autodrome, nestled within Motor City in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. And as we talked about in race one and through qualifying, how amazing it is to see that motorbike racing is now starting to make a few inroads now within the Middle Eastern and Dubai motorsport scene. It's usually all been about the four-wheeled stuff, and of course there is some four-wheeled action here this weekend as part of the NGK Sparkplugs race weekend, with of course Golf Pro Car and the Golf Radical Cup. But to have superbikes here also as a nice complement is certainly good too. It's something for the two-wheeled fans to enjoy in their space as well. So the bikes now making their way around onto the dummy grid. Of course, once they're up there and they're all lined up and ready to go, they'll get the signal from the race control with the klaxon to say that to clear the grid. Once the grid has then been cleared, they'll be set off onto their single formation lap around the circuit. It looks a little bit like it's a proper race start. It almost caught me out for race number one, but essentially it's them getting a fast start. It's not quite like cars when they can kind of go off slowly and weave from side to side. You don't get that luxury or that really option when it comes to bikes. There's too much of a risk given the fact that you could potentially fall off. So ultimately these bikes go around essentially at roughly 80 to 90% the same sort of speed that you'd see them if it was a racing start. It's only when they get round to the end of the lap that they start to close up and slow up much more in order to set themselves up to line back on their grid spots before the lights go out. So as the bikes make their way around onto the grid, just a reminder, three classes at play here. We have the modified class, the fastest of the three. We have the super stock class, and then we have a rookie class which encapsulates everything really in terms of any bikes on the grid, but anyone that's competing essentially in their first in their first races. See there, just going around to the grid, that is bike number 13. Bike 13 or bike 12 it may well be. Let's try and look at it from a distance. And that may well be bike 12. If it is bike 12, which would be Muhannad Bakadlag. It might have been 73 actually, but we'll work out ideas on that side. There's number 34 on screen, which you're seeing. 34 being Manuel Parra. He had some good results in the races back in November. He picked up actually an overall second place, as well as a Supersport victory, 2 Supersport victories, in fact. Manuel Parra doing incredibly well. There is the man who's won all the races so far in the championship, Saeed Al Salati, the Qatari rider with plenty of experience riding in Qatar and also in Spain, and certainly looking to make the most of his experience and his pace on board the Yamaha R6 to try and to make it 4 from 4 and keep the perfect bit. This is one of the men that could stop him, the young sensation Mohammed bin Ladin on the Yamaha R6 also. Looks like he will start from the front row of the grid in the middle. Essentially, it looks to me as if the grid has been set by the results of race number 1. So essentially, wherever you finished in race 1 is where you'll start the race for race number 2. Which means that it will be Al Salati, bin Ladin, and this man, Saskia Totaro, on the front row of the grid together. So Totaro on the inside of row number 1, bin Ladin in the middle, and Salati on the outside on pole. Row 2 is going to be our super stock pole sitter on the second row, which is Firas Abu Ghanem, and he will start on the outside of row 2. The middle will be Florin Beladinu, and on the inside of row 2 will be Manuel Parra. Row 3 will be Yuri Nekrasov on the outside, Tom Robson, the rookie pole position man, in 8th, and it's Adrian Andradash on the inside of row 3. Row 4 will be Kafan Al-Kabai with Marvin Almheri and Mohamed Samshir on the inside, and then Matteo Minero, Johan Gauss from South Africa, Muhannad Bakadlag and Hussein Balat to round off the 16 riders that will take to the track here for race number 2 of the weekend. Plenty of fans and spectators around the circuit, and for those of you watching trackside here at Dubai Autodrome, thank you for being here and supporting the event. It's good to get a mixture of 2 and 4 wheels here, so hopefully you'll enjoy the spectacle just as much as you did in race number 1. And of course, the other race that we've had around this weekend, such as the Golf Pro Cars, the Golf Radicals, and there's more 4-wheeled action coming tomorrow. Of course, I think there's some Time Attack and some other races coming up too. So it should be quite a fascinating spectacle. But we're getting set for Superbikes, who are heading off for their formation lap, their green flag lap. Again, it looks like a race start, but I can confirm there is a green flag being waved, which means they're heading off to get some heat into the tyres. So on the formation lap at this point then. So it looks like a race start, but I can guarantee it absolutely isn't. It is simply a formation lap because, as I mentioned just now, they don't have the luxury of being able to weave from side to side, even though they do go off at quite a spirited pace. So they're simply just getting around at a fast enough pace so they can pretty much get as much heat and temperature into those tyres and pressures as possible, try and warm the brakes up and make sure that everything is in optimal range. Some of the riders may have had some feedback for their engineers, which might well be a chance for them to tweak the setup a little bit more, make it more to their liking, more to the conditions, more to things like the wind factor, track conditions, whether the track's rubbered in a little bit more, because we've had some races in between for some of the cars, which means there could be a little bit more grip on the circuit, which means they could play a little bit more with the tyre pressures. There's a few different areas they can go into the direction with setup changes if they feel they need to. Others might feel as though the bike is in exactly the right place it needs to be, so they won't even touch it. They'll just do a little bit of maintenance on it just to make sure that it is ticking over nicely, and then just give it a bit of a wipe down so it's all clean and fresh to go on the grid for race number 2. So again, we saw some themes in race 1. It was the top 3 that on the front of the grid were certainly these 3 men that ran away with it. Salati, bin Ladin and Taro, and they were the class of the field in modified and overall. Firas Abu Ghanem will be looking to try and maintain his advantage in Superstock, given the fact that coming into the weekend, the man that was leading the Superstock points, Manuel Parra, has finished behind him a couple of times, which means that will at least have ensured that Firas will have taken some points out of him in that sense. And in terms of the rookie category, well, Tom Robson will have extended his lead further. And the likes of Mohamed Samshir Hussein Ballat and Muhannad Bakadlag will also be trying to pick up as much points as they can. There's a little bit of weaving going on, as you can see. They can't do that all the time, but Saeed El Salati is getting a little bit of crucial bit of heat and pressure into the brakes and tyres before we get underway. I'll just remind you for colour ID. So Saeed El Salati on the outside and pole position on riders left, but our right, and he is in red, white and red. On the middle of the shot on front row, Mohammed bin Ladin in blue and silver, and that is then next to him is the green Kawasaki of Sasuke Totaro. We talked about earlier on that Totaro more experienced in riding Ducatis, but he's been racing a Kawasaki so far and getting to grips with it too. So the last couple of riders getting into position. Once all set, they'll get the board to say that 5 seconds is up, which they do now. And we're all set for race 2 of the day for the DSBK UAE National Championship Superbike racing here at Dubai Autodrome. Red lights are on. Who wins the sprint down towards turn 1? Let's find out. We're Superbike racing once again in Dubai. And a better start for the inside of the front row from Sasuke Totaro, who goes level with bin Ladin down towards turn 1. It's another poor start for the pole sitter and race 1 winner, Saeed El Salati. He will not go into turn 1 first. He's going to it third, as again bin Ladin gets the whole shot and leads through turn 1 at the start of the race. So bin Ladin leads then. It's Totaro up to second this time. A great launch from the inside of the front row to give him the runner-up spot at the moment. El Salati back to third, so starts going to have to be the thing he has to practice between now and the next meeting in a couple of weeks' time. Also quick starts for Firas Abu Ghanem and Florent Berladino in 4th and 5th. Manuel Parra's also dropped back a couple of spots, and he's trying to keep himself in the mix too. He's down to 7th, I think, behind Yuri Nekrasov, I think, by the looks of it. And Tom Robson might have dropped a couple of places too. Out of turns 8 and 9, and you can see that El Salati already trying to get onto his toes now by looking around the outside at Sasuke Totaro. Now, if he can stay exactly where he is there, if he can put himself level, it will give him the inside line for the next corner down at the end of the back straight. Down towards the big braking zone at turn 10. And here comes El Salati making that early dive. He knows he has to get past Totaro early doors if he stands any chance of keeping up. But again, he goes way too deep. He's done that several times already. He has put him on the inside line for turn 11 before they get to 12, but all this battling, as we talked about in race 1, the harder these two fight each other, the easier it is for bin Ladin to get away in this early lap. Now out of turn 12, bin Ladin leads then. El Salati in 2nd place, Totaro in 3rd, then the two primarily orange bikes behind in 4th and 5th. That will be Firas Abu Ghanem and Florent Berladino. Abu Ghanem will be maintaining that super stock lead. I think Manuel Parra has dropped back a couple of places. His bike is also blue and silver, but I didn't see him in 6th position in the first few corners. Looks like not a great start for him. And he's currently showing as being in, where's he dropped down to? He's dropped way down the order. Where's he got to? He's down to 6th, by the looks of it, according to the timing screen. Cross the line, they go to end lap number 1. El Salati leads, bin Ladin 2nd. Sorry, other way round, wait with the timing screen to update itself. Bin Ladin leads, El Salati 2nd. It's Totaro, Abu Ghanem, Berladino. Parra is in 6th position, so must have got back past Nekrasov in those early couple of corners. Kalfan Al-Kabai is 8th. Adrian Andranash is 9th. And in terms of the rookies, it's Kabai that leads it, because Tom Robson, for where he was 8th on the grid, down to 11th. He's down to 3rd in rookie class, behind both Al-Kabai in 8th overall and Marwan Al-Mheri in P10. So not a great start for Tom Robson either. Here comes El Salati up the inside, looking for make that early move for the lead. And bin Ladin doesn't fight it too hard. But if he can get a better run here, you might be a good run. He's looking down the outside towards turns 8 and 9. But not quite making it stick. And if you can get a good exit from here, it might be the chance. But whatever happened to El Salati in the end, it appears as though that it's El Salati's got that early advantage, but again, bin Ladin getting back at him under brakes. We know that El Salati likes to go deep into corners, and that can sometimes be to his detriment. He does go slightly deep, but it works for the racing line this time. It's a tighter exit from turn 10 on the inside for bin Ladin. That now loses him a couple of bike lengths through turn 12. And now El Salati pretty much put himself into exactly the same position he was in towards the end of race 1, but early doors in race 2. Now further back, I think I saw a glimpse there of Tom Robson. There goes Nekrasov on bike 20. Next should then be, it's Andranach now ahead of Al-Kabai. Then it's Marwan Almheri, and there's Tom Robson you can see on screen. He's being put under pressure for the final current spots on the rookie podium by Mohamed Samshir. Samshir came into the weekend third in points, but he was some 18 points back at the start of the day from leader Robson. So Robson, after a slow getaway, is now trying to wind himself up. He's trying to get himself a couple more places, and immediately he needs to get himself up into second place and dispatch of the number 69 Kawasaki of Marwan Almheri. Remember, this is both Al-Kabai and Almheri's first ever weekend racing bikes. They completed their first race ever earlier on this morning and picked up a podium each in class. So at the moment, Al-Kabai, if he stays where he is, that's the key phrase, could be on course potentially to get his first bike win, only his second ever race, class win I should suffix, because of course the overall leaders are away and gone out in front. Speaking of away and gone, Al Salati is in front of the field by 1.4, nearly 1.5 seconds out in front. So his last lap, in fact, was a 2 minute 7.132 compared to late 2 minute 8s for Bin Laden and Totaro. So Al Salati not wasting any time in this second race, turning up the wick and trying to pull away as quickly as possible. Away he goes. Looking here at this battle, we've still got the chase on between. In fact, there's been a change there because Almheri has lost the spot to Tom Robson. He now is free to chase after Khalfan Al-Kabai. He wants to get himself back into that rookie lead if he can. But let's see what Al-Kabai's got in terms of any response once Robson gets onto his tail. For the record, it's still Firas Abughanam who leads in fourth position overall in the Superstock class. And then from them, it's Manuel Para in second in class in P6 overall, and Yuri Nekrasov seventh overall and third in class at this point as they turn their way out through the left-hander. And the brakes. Oh, and that's it. Is that a rider stood by the side of the side of the track? I think it is. Is that a rider who's? Oh dear! And that looks like. Now that's blue and silver. Now that's either Manuel Para or, dare I say it, is that Mohammed Bin Laden's bike? Now then, that could be interesting. Red flag race has been stopped, rightfully so, because there is a bike in the middle of the road. Now, there's no Mohammed Bin Laden in that leading group shot, so I think it is Mohammed Bin Laden on bike 88 that's come to grief at the exit of turn 12. Now, what on earth happened there? The main thing is that Mohammed Bin Laden looked as though he was stood up and walking. And of course, that's the main concern to think about immediately in any incident regarding bike racing, is that the rider is okay. And of course, the safety advances in leather technology and helmet technology, etc., means that, you know, the riders can be as safe as possibly can be in these days. But of course, there is always the element of danger. But so the immediate concern in any incident has to be to make sure the rider is okay. But Mohammed looked as though he was up, so that is a positive. Now, having not seen the incident firsthand, the question you almost have to kind of ask. Yeah. Is yeah. So just getting in my ears that everything appears to be all okay. He's up and walking, which is the main thing. There is the bike, but the main thing is that Mohammed is okay. So obviously the marshals will retrieve that as soon as possible, and then racing will get back underway, which means now that Said Al Salati, provided that Sasuke Totaro can't mount a challenge on the restart, is essentially going to have another crack at a start, because it's twice now today that he's tried to start from the front row of the grid and hasn't really managed it. Here's just a quick replay to confirm Mohammed Bin Laden is just walking away, or jogging away, so to speak. So he appears to be all okay. He may well get a very precautionary check over at the medical centre just for safety. But apart from that, all appears to be well on the outside for Mohammed. It's a shame because he had such a great start to the day. We're getting himself on the front row, leading the early stages of race one, getting another good start for race number 2, and then ultimately, unfortunately, coming to blows early in that race. So with the red flag, it gives the riders a very quick chance to refresh themselves. They'll still be pumping full of adrenaline, but they get a moment to almost calm calm down for a second before they get back out there again and just reassess what happened. I think a couple of the riders just making sure and checking the thumb up to ensure that what what's been seen and heard, that Mohammed's okay, and that is the case. So they're just checking on the screens to see what may have happened. There's Tom Robson, probably discussing with his engineer what happened on the opening couple of laps to lead him to go from where he was on pole to dropping to about third or fourth in class, which is not past the game plan, of course, for Tom. There's a thumbs up there from 49, which is Hussein Ballat. As we see, Saeed Al Salati, one of the last to go through. There's also there a quick bite there. I think that is from Kalfan Al-Kabai. No, from yes, from Kalfan Al-Kabai. He's having a quick bite in the pits whilst the bikes get a momentary chance to cool off. And there is Mohammed. And there's Mohammed looking as though he is perfectly okay, just talking to the marshals and the circuit staff just to ensure all is well. And that's the main thing to see. It's confirmation of where we were in terms of the fastest lap of the race up to this point. It was a 2 minute 7.132 at racing speeds for Saeed Al Salati. So he'll want to try and maintain that kind of pace on the restart. So just to take stock of where we were then, obviously with Mohammed now out of the picture, the running order effectively at the time of the red flag was Al Salati leading the way from Saskia Sotaro in second place. That was the modified 1-2. Firas Abu Ghanem was third overall and leading Superstock by a few seconds. Then Florin Belladino now moves into the podium places, currently sitting in third. That's where he'll start in the modified order, fourth on the grid overall. It was fifth for Manuel Parra, who had to get himself up to speed in the first few corners. Once he did, though, he was back into the mix. And I thought we lost him for a few turns, but managed to pop back up into P6 as Mohammed bin Ladin safely walks away. Yuri Nekrasov was P6 at the time of the red flag. Seventh was Adrian Andranash. As we see some conversations there, including Saeed Al Salati, just to see how he's going on. But Verstappen says, well, what can we do? But it's good that Mohammed's safe, so that's all that matters. It was then Kalfan Al-Kabai in 8th in the order at the red flag. 9th was Marwan Al-Mehri. 10th was Tom Robson. And he was, it looks like he lost out to, back again to Marwan Al-Mehri. So it looks like a mistake, it seems, from Robson, which dropped him behind the 69 bike again when he just got past him about a lap or so ago, which is interesting. So Tom's obviously potentially made him some kind of a mistake. As Mohammed has bin Ladin's bike is successfully hitched onto the trailer. Mohammed Samshir 11th at the red flag, ahead of Matteo Monero. Johan Gauss, who is not quite on the same pace modified class-wise as he was all the way back in November. Back in 13th at this point. Muhannad Bakadlag is 14th, and then Hussein Ballat in 15th. You see a couple of the teammates, obviously in different classes, but teammates in the squad. 33 there, which is Firas Abu Ghanem, and 55, which is Florin Belladino. Third and fourth at the moment in the running order. And of course, Firas leading the Superstock class on top of that as well. It's really great to see so much interest and support down in the pits for the riders and the teams, and that's the great thing about these events, is that it welcomes so many people in to experience all kinds of different motorsport, and particularly in such an amazing setting like the Dubai Autodrome here, effectively in Motor City, in this part of Dubai, in the United Arab Emirates. As we've talked about a couple of times, it's great that we've got an expansion of the motorsport world within the Middle East now. Of course, yes, in terms of bike racing, we have the Qatar Grand Prix at the Losail circuit for MotoGP, but aside from that, we don't really have much more sort of Middle Eastern based bike racing. There have been events and track days, etc., that have been run for bikes in Dubai and the UAE, of course, but in terms of an actual fully fledged championship in its own right, essentially is a bit of a pioneering step, which is great to see. And in its inception, it seems to have really inspired quite a few people, not just riders from around the Middle East region, such as the UAE and also Saudi Arabia and Qatar and Lebanon, etc., but also a few riders who are residents out here in Dubai who are mainly based in Europe, like Tom Robson. You can see they're just second on the right from the UK. We've got riders who have raced in Italy, who've raced from Romania, etc. So yeah, and the Furiosa man is the race organizer, so he's having a bit of a chat with the riders in terms of how it's looking and how the day's gone so far, and possibly to do something, possibly looking at the restart procedure in terms of how that's going to work and some of the info that he's been able to garner. There you can see on the left is Saskia Totaro, the sort of part Italian, part South African rider. And Saskia, looking back to some of his information, he's been a local championship competitor for about 6 years now, local resident who's kind of part South Africa, as Mohammed bin Ladin's bike is successfully returned to the pit lane. It might not take any further part today, but at least it's back to the pit safe and sound. But looking back to Saskia Totaro on the Kawasaki, he's always been at the sharp edge of the field anytime he's come out and raced. For many years, he's had lots of good race experience. As you mentioned, he's more used to racing in previous years, a twin-cylinder Ducati. Has used that essentially for the last 6 years up until now, and he's changed across for this year to for this series essentially for the inline 4 of the Kawasaki. Not much difference in terms of how it rides apparently, but still pretty quick from the onset from practice. And there is the number 5 Ducati with Totaro just situated there just to the right, just relaxing for a moment whilst we get set to get going once again very shortly. And the bin Ladin Yamaha wheeled back into the garage where the team will get to work on that, and all being well, hopefully should be out for the final rounds in just a few weeks' time here at the Autodrome. Looking down the rest of the order, Firas Abigarnam, who leads the Superstock category, won it in race 1. He's pretty much been the class of the field in that category all weekend so far. And he's a local resident from Lebanon in his 3rd season since rookie, and some might see him as a more mild-mannered and gentle personality, but when he's on the track, he certainly brings the business and has looked pretty quick in that sense, and certainly living up to the fact that many were tipping him to certainly be a top contender, as he was back in November, living up to that and trying to ensure that he's on the pace. So it looks as though that they are having a go at fixing Mohammed bin Ladin's bike, and whether or not he'll be able to take the restart or not is not a matter we have too much knowledge on. But if he's allowed to, then that'll be a bonus, but if not, it'll be a shame. But we'll wait and see how that goes, and if he is on the grid, that will be an excellent second chance for him to get another good start and lead the way. But we'll wait and see what the progress is and if he's permitted to take the restart. Just to see there on the left, Saeed Al-Salati is now just deep in conversation. I think that must be Saskia Totaro. So of course they know they're going to be on the front row together. Now, what's interesting is that I'm not sure it's the definitive order, but the timing screen has a slight reset, and it's got Saskia Totaro on, well, showing as being on pole position. But we'll wait and see what the pictures tell us rather than give what could be. We'll wait and see. We'll wait and see what the grid shows us when they go to line up. But a quick once over on Mohammed bin Ladin's bike. I know there was an official stood there having a look over it just to make sure that all was well. We talked about Mohammed, of course. We said that a couple of times about some of his experience as a young up-and-coming rider from Saudi Arabia. And he has as already mentioned, done a bit of racing over in Europe in both the Yamaha R3 Cup and the Honda ETC European Championship. And there are some that believe that, all being well, he has the potential to be quite successful in the world of bike racing. Certainly made his mark in Europe already in the first couple of times that he's got over there and raced. Looking to try and continue that. So it looks as though bikes are now being allowed to head back round onto the grid. We're just seeing their bike 12, which is Muhammad Bakhadlag. So he'll be heading onto the grid very shortly. There is Tom Robson, hoping for a better start this time than he did in his first attempt for this race, which dropped him a couple of places. He'll want to try and make sure that he's still on top in rookies, but that will require a decent start in order to keep on top of the competition. And just as Tom is one of the many riders heading back out onto the circuit. Tom, to mention, as I say, he's a local resident from England. He's in his rookie season, and he's proved to be the rookie to beat back at the opening round, as we see there. Florian Berladino also getting ready to saddle up once again on his number 55 machine. Tom Robson had a few gremlins to deal with at the start of Friday's free practice, but managed to get some decent times in by the end of it. And I'm expecting quite a strong battle between the three rookie riders at the front, as we mentioned, Tom, Kalfan and Samshir. But of course, we've also had some interesting progress as well on top of that from Marwan Almheri, who's also in the rookie class 2, and he's also had a podium. So whether or not he can make an impact and again be in the mix will remain to be seen. There is Tom Robson. Can't miss his bike. It's resplendent in bright blue, as is liveries, as is the leathers to match. There's a 33 bike. Firas Abughanum, top of the Super Sports. Super stock. I should have got that right by now, but super stock in that class. He was leading at the time of the red flag. As I say, I'm going to wait and see what order they grid them up in, because my timing screen shows Saskia Totaro is, according to this, going to start from pole position. Now, they have grouped everyone up both in class order and then alphabetical class order, and then within those classes within numerical order. But how accurate that is, I'm going to wait until they line up on the grid to see who sets where. Usually in racing, if there's a red flag, you grid them up based on where they were at the time of the red flag at the last complete lap. But we'll wait and see where they're going to place them. Just to safety, I might well actually refer to the race 2 grid for what that originally was, which means taking from the results of race 1, which I think they are going to go back to by the looks of it, because they are trying to place Manuel Parra's bike into position properly. And yeah, you can see Said Al Salati is back on his spot on pole position. Just going to check and see. Right, yes, they've also put Saskia Totaro on the front row alongside Said. So it looks like they've taken a note of what the order was at the time of the red flag, and then they're going to re-grid them up in that order. So it will be Al Salati from Totaro on the front of the grid, and we should be waiting, I think, for us Abughanum to join them on the front row. A super stock bike on the front row of the grid. That would be something. But Said Al Salati looking to this time try and get a better start, because that outside the front row really hasn't been kind to him in terms of getting away. If he can make it work this time and get a better sprint down towards turn 1, that would be much better. There is Saskia Totaro, the part Italian, part South African rider, seeing if he can bring some success on the Kawasaki. And yes, indeed, I can see that Firas Abughanum, our top super stock runner, will start this race again on the restart. The Lebanese rider from the front row of the grid from P3. There's just a bit more shuffling around going on to get them into the order they were in at the time of the stoppage. See, on the right is Manuel Parra. On the left is Yuri Nekrasov. Blue and silver for Parra. White, black, and red you can see for Yuri Nekrasov. And Yuri, just to give a quick note to him, as I think I'm sure they'll set them off on another formation lap, as there's also the 55 of Florin Berladinu, the Romanian rider, one of a few residents who originate from Europe but are here quite more permanently. The 89 bike, which has on top of it one of our two, within the rookie class, one of our two brand new riders who are competing today, and there's the other one. So that would be both Kalfan Alcabai that you saw first of all, and then Marwan Almheri. There's Matteo Minera, another Italian rider on the grid. There's Mohamed Samshir in white and red. He's looking to try and put a good run, the Indian rider. And there's Tom Robson in blue. Now, he'll want a much better start this time because he really got bogged down on that first start, lost a few spots and had to claw his way back through and got back to just about the lead until he was able to take a break because of the red flag. There's Hussein Balat towards the back of the field, and then on bike 12 we have there Muhanad Bakadlag from another one of our Saudi riders on the grid too. So we're getting clear for the formation lap now, so they'll go back around and reform back onto the grid. See. Yeah, so green flags, they'll have another formation lap to get more heat and pressure back into the tyres and brakes once again. And once they finish this formation lap, they'll form back up onto the grid and we'll go for start number 2 in race 2 of this DSBK UAE National Championship. And as I mentioned, if you want to check out the final rounds of this championship, you can do so in only a few weeks' time because they will be back out once again here on the Dubai International Circuit on a slightly different layout. That'll be taking place on the 20th of April on the international layout, and that will settle the championship for the season. So only been a short season with 4 events. As I mentioned earlier on, we ran the first one on the 11th of November on the national layout. Then it was all set to run on the 11th of February on the club layout for round 2. And then unfortunately the weather gods decided to play against us in terms of the conditions. And because of that meant that we couldn't run the second event. So we had to move swiftly on to this one here in round 3. And here on the longest of the 4 layouts that they will race in this championship, being the full Grand Prix circuit layout. The international layout, ever slightly shorter, will make up the 4th and final meeting of this UAE National Championship for essentially most of 2024. It started, of course, in November last year, but essentially it's the 2024 championship. So, talking points at the front of the field. Said Al Salati looking to, again, make it 4 from 4, get a better start this time, and if he can, then start to pull away and keep Saskia Totaro at bay as much as possible. You can see the riders making their way back down towards the final corner where they'll start to grid up again one by one. And again, it's going to be a lineup on pole position for Said Al Sultani. And Salati will want to get a good launch. You know, he's got Totaro alongside him. He might feel he has better traction. And I'll be very intrigued also to see how Firas Abughanam gets on from the front row. Of course, the leading super stock rider might not have as much power off the line, but if you can certainly get a good launch, you might well do well. One biker there with his arms in the air towards the back of the field, whether he stalled the bike or had an issue. He's kind of gesticulating, saying either, oh, I fixed it, or still not right, but it looks to be ready to go. So we're waiting now, I think, if that's the case, for the 5-second board. Someone's now pushing themselves backwards because they're out of position by the looks of it. So that's all going on in race 2. He's quickly pedaling his bike back into place. And hopefully, if he's all good to go and they're satisfied, there we go, 5-second board is up. Let's try this again, shall we? So start 2 for race 2 of the day for the Dubai DSBK UAE National Championship. We're underway once again. Good start this time for Tom Robson for the middle of the pack. Much better launch for him this time. And yet again, it's not a great start for the Pulsar, and it is going to be, initially, Firas Abu Gharnam, who will lead them initially down towards turn 1, but here comes Saskia Totaro, and now down the outside of all of them comes the slow starting Saeed El Salati. He's made it stick and got back into the lead, so not the best of starters, but in the second phase, that Yamaha really starts to kick in, and under brakes manages to beat both Abu Gharnam and subsequently Totaro into the first corner. Away he goes. So then, now that he's out in front by default, the question is going to be, does Saskia Totaro in his early laps have anything to be able to try and overhaul him? They've only got 4 laps in order to make any impact on this. So out of the first few corners, it is Al Salati who leads, Totaro in second place, Abu Gharnam in third place, Belladino in fourth. And just looking back, it looks, I think that's Yuri Nekrasov that's climbed up to 5th position. He's now been battling with Manuel Parra as the riders make their way down towards turn 10 at the hairpin. There might be a switch on for 5th and 6th between Parra and Nekrasov. Which way that goes, we'll see in a second. And it's gone the way of Nekrasov, who goes around the outside and makes the pass stick. And by the looks of it, that initial strong start from Tom Robson has further been vindicated by the fact that he looks like still hovering around in about 7th or 8th place overall. There he is, just behind Nekrasov, a few bike lengths back, which means he's in 7th overall. And that does indeed put him straight away into the rookie lead, which is exactly where he wants to be for the remainder of these 4 laps. So out of the complex of corners that wind its way back towards the pit straight and the final turns, making their ways through 14 and 15, back towards 16, that final corner, and then once they're back on the power again, that long, seemingly endless pit straight takes you back towards that very tricky braking zone downhill at turn 1, where you see some of these bikes really dancing around on the rear wheel. But the initial start, Al Salati is up and away by basically 1.4 seconds at the end of lap 1. From second place man Totaro, and it's Abu Gharnam in 3rd, Belladini 4th, Parra 5th, Nekrasov 6th, Tom Robson 7th, then Al-Kabai is up to 8th place, Andranash is 9th, and Almeri rounds out the top 10. It's then followed by Sam Shear, Minero, Gauss, Bakadlag and Ballat to round off the 15 riders that we still have. Only Mohammed Bin Laden sadly not taking the restart after his incident that brought out the red flag. So lap 2 on this shorter restart. And there's the clear gap. There's the clear advantage. Saeed Al Salati pulling away. Essentially one of, if not possibly the most experienced man in the field, using all of his ability and experience to just try and create that gap as much as possible. So they make their way back towards turn 11. This sharp uphill hairpin of turn 12. Very tricky late apex, considering that you're having to pull the bike uphill over that little crest just as you get to the apex of the turn. There goes Parra and Nekrasov. Robson 7th. And what's fascinating is that even though these two riders, Abu Gharnam and Belladino, are effectively in the same stable, because you can see that they both share a garage essentially, it's intriguing that both of them are relatively well matched despite being in 2 different classes, but they're running essentially in tandem together. Abu Gharnam with the faster bike, of course, whilst Belladino continues on with the modified class bike. So we are now on to the 3rd lap of 4. 2 laps completed, possible change on here. This is between Andrinash and Al-Kabai. It's different classes, but it's track position anyway. And up to P8 goes Andrinash. Meanwhile, there goes Marwan Almheri holding off Mohamed Samshir. That's a battle also for the final spot on the rookie podium. They're also being chased down by, looks like, Matteo Minero, the Italian. Just hovering around in the background behind these two. Samshir's getting confident around the outside, but Almheri keeps his nose in on the inside line as they make their way through out of turn 7, now back through 8 and 9. As we see a little bit just ahead of them, Al-Kabai trying to do his best to keep with Adrian Andrinash. And there was that Samshir getting past Almheri. It was, by the looks of it, so he's through. And I think also Minero got through as well. So both Minero and Samshir, by the looks of things, have got past Marwan Almheri. Just double check that, or has he got him back again? I think he's got him back again, actually. So he has. Okay, so he's lost out to Samshir, but he has kept Minero at bay. So there has been a change for 10th between Almheri and Samshir. So the hairpin at turn 12. Now back on the power once again on this penultimate lap. It's quite a short race, a restart, of course. Just the 4 laps to essentially fit the quota that was allocated. And our leader has already gone ahead and started with the last lap of the race. Saeed Al-Salati has crossed the line. You can see on the top of the screen that on the final lap, so the leader has currently taken it, and the gap he's got, has he ever got some gap? It's 5.8 seconds to the good, out in front of the rest of the field. There he is, just spread eagling the field on the Yamaha R6, and doing a fine job at it too, because certainly proving that he is the man to beat in this championship. All the experience he has, not just racing in these parts of the Middle East, but also he's had a little bit of experience over in Spain, putting all that to good use, and just purely running a bike that nobody else appears to be able to live with, at least not in the long term, because we've seen the likes of Mohammed bin Ladin, who I'm certain would have been, if his pace was good, in the mix here had he not had that incident that caused the red flag to bring this race to a premature brief stoppage before we got it restarted. He showed a clean pair of heels to Saskia Totaro back in 2nd place. I don't think Saska's got any response really in terms of being able to get back at him, which I'm sure might surprise him. But again, Al-Salati using all that experience as much as he can to pull that gap even further. It's still the lead for Faraz Abighanum in Superstock, with Manuel Parra in 2nd in that class and Yuri Nekrasov in 3rd, and the rookies still show to be Tom Robson, who leads the way there still, and that's now ahead of Kalfan Al-Kabai and Mohamed Samshir, as Marwan Almheri continues to march a little bit further backwards. But for this man, it looks though it's been quite a simple Saturday's riding for the man from Qatar. And it's 2 more maximum scores. He has a brief look behind him there, because there's absolutely no one behind him. He coasts it nice and easy through the final corner. There's no stopping him, is there? It's going to be 4 from 4 for Saeed Salati. He takes the victory. Saeed Al-Salati wins race 2 of the day and the 4th race in a row for the Qatari rider. Looks back, only just sees Saskia Totaro out of the final corner. That's how far ahead he was. Look at the winning margin, 10.186 seconds in the end. I think that's what you call domination all the way through. Had it tougher in race number 1, admittedly, but in race 2, he managed to get himself in front, stayed there, and pulled a nice, strong, solid gap to ensure he wasn't going to be headed even on the restart. Saskia Totaro takes 2nd place. It's an overall podium finish and a super stock victory once again for Faraz Abighanum. He'll be delighted with that. Florin Belladinu, his teammate, is in P4 ahead of Manuel Parra and Yuri Nekrasov, who will join Abighanum on the super stock podium. And then 7th place, it is the rookie victory once again for Tom Robson. A much better start this time. You see Abighanum and Belladinu celebrating their accolades from today. Of course, Florin on the podium in modified, and a super stock victory for Abighanum. That team will be very pleased with their day's work, I'm certain. And even though it's in its relative infancy in terms of bike racing in in Dubai, and it's still it's very steadily building its profile up. There's already a real camaraderie between the riders here. They're all, as I'm sure many do in bike racing, a lot of them take the time to congratulate and say thanks and say well done. So here's the result then on screen just to confirm it. Saeed Al Salati takes victory and maintains his 100% winning record throughout the season. Saskia Totaro second from Firas Abou-Ghanem in third. Florian Belladini fourth. Manuel Parra fifth. And Yuri Nekrasov, Tom Robson, who wins the Saxo rookie class. And of course, Abou-Ghanem was Superstock winner too. Then Adrian Andranash, Kalfan Al-Kabai, Mohamed Samshir, Marvin Almheri, Mateo Minero, Johan Gauss, who didn't have the same sort of point scoring and results that he may have had recently or previously back in November, which is interesting. Maybe the circuit layout played more to his strengths than others, or the competition's taken a slight upturn in strength. Back in 13th, not where he would have wanted to be. And then Muhannad Bakadlag and Hussein Ballat round off the 15 riders that we saw finish. And for those wondering, the one that we didn't have was Mohammed bin Ladin. Very sadly, was involved in some kind of incident that saw him out of the race, and with his bike on the track, it meant that we had no choice but to bring the red flag out in order to facilitate the safe removal of that bike, so we could then get back racing again. So, Saeed Al Salati, still nobody that can beat him to the checkered flag first. It is another overall win, another modified class win. That will certainly help further cement his lead in the modified class points. And I'm certain the likes of Adrian Andranash and Florin Belladini will start to move up the order too, as I'm sure we'll also see the likes of Saskia Totaro and Mohammed bin Ladin also getting themselves onto the table too. Little casual wave there from Al Salati as he pulls in. Gives it the customary kind of give it a couple of full beans revs in neutral and gets the handshake from his team. I think even more impressed with how that went in race one, because it's slightly tougher in race one with the battles that he had, but once getting out in front, that bike certainly had plenty of mumbo about it and lots of speed in a straight line. And of course, Saeed, being that experienced, just putting it all to good use. Comes our second place rider, Saskia Totaro, back on the podium again in the modified class. One step higher this time, but he gets the applause. And also a fine job from Florian Belladini. He will pick up that third place in modified class. There's the, not even a hand, he gets a hug. There's real camaraderie and sportsmanship here, and they're kind of just reminiscing about what happened in the second race. There's the P1 for Firas Abou-Ghanem, confirming that he is Superstock winner. So good effort from him to help the team get a double trophy success from this second race. Some more conversations there. I think that's between Manuel Parra and Al Salati. See, motorsport, whether it's 2 wheels or 4, can bring out even the youngest fans to come and enjoy it and get a taste. So, and there we see, it's all love for Saeed Al Salati, certainly enjoying himself on the Yamaha and making full use of his experience in that sense. Of course, Saeed, a local resident, Saeed, of course, he's a guest rider from Qatar, and he's been on and off for the last 3 seasons, but now doing the full championship here this season with his main sponsor, VME Valves. I'd say, you say that riders only wear the most stylish sunglasses when it comes to that. I think Saeed Al Salati might need some water because he's quite exhausted after that. But Saeed Al Salati, of course, he also races at the Sale in the Qatar equivalent championship. One of the top runners there. It's been racing for many years, with some of it being in Spain, as we said. And after testing, he came into the weekend as essentially one of, if not the favourite, to score top honours. There is number 49, which is Hussein Ballat. He was towards the back of the field. So we'll be handing down shortly at some point to our Master of Ceremonies, who'll be doing the podium presentations as he did for race number 1. And before that, shortly when they're ready, we'll also have some very brief highlights before then to go through. Just thanks, of course, have to go to everyone that's continuing to make sure that the DSBK UAE National Championship can happen. Of course, the Saxo Bank sponsors of the rookie class, and Yusuf Motors sponsors of the modified class and of the Superstock class. And on top of that, also thanks to those who put this championship together and have really helped this to continue to become an impressive sensation. I think we see there Mohammed bin Ladin just on the right hand side there talking with Saskia Totaro in terms of what happened. But amazing stuff for everyone else. And again, a credit to Nasir Saeed and all those that have been putting this championship together to allow bike racing to raise its profile a little bit in the Middle East and in Abu Dhabi and in Dubai and the United Arab Emirates. So credit to all of them for the work they've done so far, and to all the riders that have been taking part, not just those who are more local to the Middle East, but those who are residents around this region, mostly from Europe. So good less for them in that sense. So I think we are just waiting for the podium ceremony to get underway shortly. And as I mentioned, once we do have an opportunity to cut some highlights, we will do. And just say, of course, again, thank you for those who have not just been watching the live stream. You can see, just talking to Bin Laden here, you can see, yeah, we can see that Saeed Al-Salati talking to Mohammed bin Ladin about some of those opening lap battles. And again, you can see, regardless of anything that's happened, conversation, plenty of smiles, plenty of good times, everyone enjoys themselves. And certainly, they are quite happy to be a part of it all. And it's good to see that more experienced riders passing on some knowledge and some wisdom to some of the young I mentioned. Mohammed bin Ladin being tipped as quite a talent for the next few years to come from the Middle East, and certainly in the battles that he was able to give Al-Salati throughout the first race in particular, shows that he's got definitely plenty of potential, and I'm sure that anything he can learn, he will learn pretty quickly. His mind will start to absorb it like a sponge and be able to even get quicker and have more and more abilities in getting quicker as the weeks and months and years go by. And one thing I've always said to fans, again, some more, again, very much a family affair as well in terms of motorsport. Great to see that the riders and the competitors bring their families along to be part of it. And it's one thing I've found in motorsport after any race or any session, whether it's four wheels or two, the competitors do love one thing: they do love to talk. They do love to converse quite was vigorously in their way about how the races went on. There is Saeed Al-Salati shaking a bit of a joke, one of the other sort of supporters and runners down here. And Mohammed bin Ladin, who's on a slightly more pedestrian form of two-wheeled transport. But he's already swiftly changed mostly out of his riding gear after his premature exit from the race. And Saeed says he needs water, so yeah, he needs some hydration before he heads up onto the podium. That's quite a key thing, particularly in this part of the world. As you can see, the sun certainly beating down. It's, as I mentioned, just for the benefit of those who happen to be around the circuit. watching trackside. Again, first of all, thank you for being here, because it is amazing to have as many people as we have checking out the day. There's still more on-track action coming up tomorrow, with some time attack action and also Golf Radicals in the mix. But for the Superbikes, they have wrapped up their program for the day and for the event. And we look forward to welcoming them back when they return towards the end of April next month, where essentially the 2023-24 season will conclude. You tell Tsai he's quite a popular character, because he's got so many people who are stopping him to say hi and to congratulate him and to have a quick chat. So, as we go into seeing highlights, before we hand over to the Master of Ceremonies for the podium finishing, it's just quickly to sign off from myself, saying thanks for watching for everyone here at Dubai Autodrome. As we go into the highlights from myself, Scott Woodwis, enjoy the podium presentations, but until next time, there's some amazing action from the Dubai DBSK UAE National Championship. 2 wins overall for Said Al Salati, and anyone stop him in the final rounds coming up at the end of April. We'll find out until then, but here's the highlights. Enjoy the podium. For myself, we'll see you very soon next time for more action for the DSBK UAE National Championship.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back for the podium presentations of race number 2 of the DSBK UAE National Championship. Sorry for the delay, but some of our riders were naughty boys. Nevertheless, they are now back, so we will start off with the Saxo Rookie Cup. And for our podium presentations today, we welcome our guests. Where's Ahmed? Ahmed, please come forward. Mr. Ahmed Tarek from Al Yusuf Motors. So in third place, we have Mohammed Shamshir. Well done to Mohammed. He had to work hard for that third place. And another fantastic race for Khalfan Al-Khabi. Khalfan's done extremely well. 2 second places in his first race weekend. He's going to prove to be a tough competitor. And once again, well done to Tom Robson for first place in the Saxo Rookie Cup. Let's get one more round of applause for our podium winners for the Saxo Rookie Cup. Congratulations. Next up, we will call the Al Yusuf Superstock category winners. And again, we welcome back Mr. Ahmed Tarek from Al Yusuf Motors to present the trophies. Well done. Third place, Yuri Nekrasov. This time I won't forget about Manuel. So in second place, well done, Manuel Para. I think Manuel's going to have to fight hard to get that trophy back. Once again, a great race. And on the top step of the podium, Firas Abu Khanem.
Hi guys, thank you so much. Thank you.
Let's hear another round of applause for our Superstock podium winners. Well done. Then once again, our modified category of the Al Yusuf Motors set some blistering pace out there. Unfortunately, Mohammed dropping it in turn 12, left it open for a second part in the race, but yet again the guys putting on a good show. So in third place, let's call out Florin Ballerinu. Congratulations, Florin. Once again, another strong race, and congratulations to second place rider Saska Totaro. Congratulations and well done. And once again, proving to be the man to beat, Saeed Al-Sulaiti. Let's hear another round of applause for our modified riders. Thank you once again to all our supporters. And don't forget, you can catch us back out on track on the 30th of March again.